simply a child. From Ben, we have the Ritz Bana, which means that we are established. We become established in our Elohim. We make teshuvah. We perceive our spiritual state. We're smart enough to say, I'm poor in spirit, I'm mourning. I shall be comforted. It humbles me. I shall inherit the earth. I will be restored, basically. When we say inherit the earth, we have to understand that Elohim created the earth. What did he create the earth for? To put trees in it so the trees could bear fruit. I'm going to bear fruit. I'm going to be full of life. I'm going to be restored to what I was supposed to do. My relationship is restored to my Elohim. So this is basically what it's saying, is that they will have the exact same Passover a month later and do the exact same thing and receive the exact same benefits. But this holds true for us every day, that if we pay attention to where we are, we say, what is the question to ask ourselves on a regular basis? It's the question that Elohim asked Adam, where are you? And we ask ourselves, where am I? What is my spiritual state? What do I need to change? So, let me see, we've gone through and talked about it all. So, their question was, are we to be kept back as to not bring in the offering of Yahuwah unto his appointed season? And this is something that I'm going to say again. Do we feel our transgression when we make teshuvah, or are we simply making teshuvah as lip service? I say, people worship me with their lips, but their heart is far removed. So again, where are you? All right, so we go on past this, and in the conversation between Yitro and Moses at chapter 10, Moses is trying to convince Jethro and basically his group of people to stay with him. And what Moses says is, if you stay with us, you can be part of us. We'll take care of you. You serve with us. But Jethro is saying, I've got to go. I've got to go. So we see a two-sided dilemma that we're in. Is that the Word is always trying to convince us to stay. But our carnal side is always trying to say, I've got to go, I've got to go, I've got to go. What happens? And we'll get to that part in just a second, but the next topic to consider is Bamidbar 11. Basically, the entire of Bamidbar 11 begins with the children of Israel complaining that all they have to eat is this manna. They're getting tired of eating this manna. They want meat. They say, we wish that we were still slaves in Egypt, where at least we had fish aplenty, and there were cucumbers and melons and garlics. So Yahuwah gets kind of bent out of shape about the whole thing. Well, I don't guess he really gets bent out of shape as much as he simply says, okay, you want it, you got it. And what happens is that he says, I'm going to send them quail. I'm going to send them so much quail that it's going to totally surround the camp, and it's going to be 5 feet high of quail. These people aren't even going to have to bend over to get their quail. And it's still going to be in their teeth when I'm sending more quail. They're going to get sick of quail. They're going to be eating it till it comes out their nostrils. But what happens is they get so caught up in going out to get the quail, and so excited about going out and get the quail, and oh boy, we have meat, we're so happy, that they forget to show any gratitude to Elohim. They forget to even acknowledge that Elohim sent it. And it's just a little bitty something for us to keep in mind, that there are things that happen in our lives that we ask for, that come into manifestation, that not to get carried away with being so excited that we forget to offer thanks to the one who forced it to manifest. So this is something that happens here because right after the conversation between Moses and Jethro, fire rains down on the camp, and the camp is consumed. Had it not been for Moses interceding and putting himself in front of them and saying, destroy me but spare them, that they would have all been destroyed. What does that tell us? That the Word is there for our protection as well. And that the Word, through the Word comes our redemption, comes our restoration, comes our deliverance. So we have to pay heed to the Word. Because if not, it's the carnal nature that takes over. And the carnal nature, the carnal side of us without the spiritual side to keep us in balance, leads us into a weak state. It leads us away from Elohim. It leads us back to the top. It leads us back to the farthest point from our Elohim. So, and finally, well, no, not yet. There's too many people for Moses to take care of. 2.5 million people. So Elohim says, appoint 70 elders. 70 elders to help him with 2.5 million people. That's a lot of help. What do we see in this? With 70. 70 is the numerical value of ayin. Again, perception. Perceiving the Word. It's through our perception of the Word that we can understand our troubles. Why did he need help? Because the people were coming to him in droves. This was actually Jethro's idea. He said, man, you're over there stressing out, wigging out, freaking out from early morning until late at night, trying to deal with all these people that are constantly coming at you. You need to appoint 70 people to help you out. And Elohim just said, yeah, that's a good idea. But the idea that we get at is that we're bombarded with things day in and day out, every day. That our perception has to be based in the Word in order for us to be able to get through our day-to-day problems. And say, well, you're putting too much faith in that whole Bible thing. That whole Bible thing isn't going to tell me how to take care of this, how to fit a 1/4-inch widget into a 3/8 thingamabob. That's it. The Word's not going to help me with that. Okay, maybe it doesn't tell you exactly the mechanics or the physics of how to do it, but what it does tell you is to pray, to believe and receive, to seek Elohim first, and that everything will be added to you. And then what happens when I step away from this widget with the thingamajig that's driving me crazy because I can't seem to make the connection because it's all wrong? And it has absolutely nothing to do with all that God stuff or Bible stuff. And I step away, I take a breath, say, Yahuwah my Elohim, I can't seem to understand what's going on with this. I've been struggling with it for an hour. Forgive me for trying to put it all on myself. I need your help, yada, yada, yada. Have a conversation. Tell them what's going on. And then wait. And then all of a sudden, it comes to you that between the 1/4-inch doohickey and the 3/8 thingamabob, there's a 1/4 to 3/8 adapter that is in all those extra parts that you have left over because you didn't read the instructions in the first place. And then you realize, see, the Word of Elohim guides us in everything. Our ability to stop and perceive what's going on is a major part of what Elohim is telling us to do in His Word. And it doesn't just have to do with all that Bible stuff. It has to do with everything that we do. We get frustrated, bent out of shape, wigged out, stressed out. We become mortal, frail, and weak. We become Enosh, because we insist on taking it on ourselves. So this is something in the 70 elders to judge. We need help from our Elohim to give us, to open our eyes to our perception. Now, as far as Miriam and Moses, Miriam speaking negatively about Moses. Moses had married an Ethiopian wife, and Miriam and Aaron apparently weren't too happy with little brother's decision, and they were getting all, bent out of shape about it, and they approached Moses apparently in not a very pleasant way, and they were dictating to Moses what he should do, what he shouldn't do. If I dictate to you, or to you, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and I don't know everything that's going on in your situation, that's called meddling. It's called gossiping. Okay? I am trying to tell you how to get rid of the negative things in your life. Okay? So, what happens? Who had told Moses to get with the Cushite? Well, first of all, Moses was the man of Elohim. He paid heed to Elohim. If it was Elohim that commanded or that directed Moses to this Cushite woman, then Moses was simply doing what he was supposed to do. He's following suit. He knows his business. But how can Aaron and Miriam know this if they don't ask any questions? All they come up and say, and I'm not saying that this happened or didn't happen, I'm just saying, suppose that Elohim told Moses, take this Cushite. And here come Aaron and Miriam saying, you shouldn't be with that person, blah, 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 she's no good for you, she's just going to do this and do that. So Elohim says, why are you questioning his decisions? Don't you have things that you need to look at yourself? Don't you have problems and issues that you have to take care of yourself? And what ends up happening is that it was Miriam who was mouthing more than anything. Miriam means rebellious, proud, haughty. What happens when we allow our pride to get away from ourselves? We have to put our pride outside the camp, because our pride is what causes leprosy. Not physical leprosy, but leprosy is a representation of sin. Her hand became white as snow. She became leprous. She had to be placed outside of the camp. The camp didn't move until she was clean. But the thing is, when we attack somebody without knowing that somebody's position, even if we know that person's business, it's not our business to attack that person. It's not our business to attack that person. And that in doing so, it leads us to become also Enosh, that we become frail, weak. And it leads us to a point where we are placed outside the camp. Because if we attack somebody, we attack them, and all of a sudden we're seen as the bad guy. What happens? It also separates relationships. We see that within a Torah portion, it's more than just stories that take place. These are ideas, just practical ideas that we can consider from the Torah portion. And all the Torah portions are like this. We'll come back to this Torah portion next year, and we'll look at it from a totally different light. But this is what the Word of Elohim does for us, is it opens our eyes to see a multitude of situations within our own lives that we can deal with. And in doing so, we know how to handle this problem that such and such comes to us for advice. Well, we don't give such and such advice, but we can say based on the Word that you might take this course of action or this course of action or this course of action. These are things that I can recommend that you do. First, I never tell anybody what to do. They come to me for advice. I simply say, these are the courses of action you can take. But we're able to help one another. We're able to love one another. we're able to understand that we have an opportunity to make teshuvah. We have something built in to give us restoration, redemption, and deliverance from not just sin and death, but deliver us from the messes that we get ourselves into, because he says deliver us from the evil one. Well, we get too close to the evil when we start saying, hey, yeah, sure, that's a good looking piece of fruit. Give me two. But this is just kind of a superficial look at this parasha. We didn't go very deep, because if we'd have gone deeper, we wouldn't have been able to do a complete overview of the whole thing. And I kind of wanted to do an overview of this particular parsha because it's got so much in it. Any questions on this mess? Stuff. Okie dokie. We've achieved grooviness then.